Hello, everybody. My name is Christian. I'm the host of the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show. And I know I say this at every episode, but you guys kind of love today's guest. Not only does he do amazing stuff in the hospitality industry, he sold off one of the items, I think 5 billion of that. And he did some other amazing stuff. And you guys going to meet him right after this. Hello again, my name is Christian, and I'm the host of the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show, and I'm really excited for today's conversation. So without giving away his name, today's guest is a branding and marketing expert. So I think we all need one of that. He's not only amazingly good in what he does around creating unforgettable brand identities. Who doesn't need more of that? He is a results-driven approach, what he has, and he partnered with different brands throughout the US. And not only that, he's the 5 billion man, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. His name is Mark, and Mark is not just an amazing human being, he's amazingly good in what he does. And as you guys know, we had one of our team member, Effica Stock, and we need a better name for that. And what he wrote back to me was humbling, because the person I met and you guys going to meet today is an amazing human being, and he's amazingly good in what he does. So with that, I want to welcome Mark Laux. How are you?
I'm well, thank you so much.
So Mark, help our listeners before we start the episode here. Let them get to know you a little bit. So can you tell us, you're an above average good looking guy. You could have done so many things. Why
thank you.
Hospitality? So how did it all start?
It's a funny story that you asked that, because I was renting a house from the person who owned Anchor Food Products, which was way back in the day, the company that made Anchor onion rings and mozzarella sticks, that kind of thing. And I had started my agency. We were working mostly in the paper industry around here. And I went and called on them. I just went, knocked on the door and said, "Do you need any help with your marketing?" And they said, "Absolutely, we do." And that's basically how I got started in food service. And Anchor grew exponentially. In 10 years, they grew like they were growing 1,000% per year. It was a crazy ride. It was fantastic. And some of your guests will probably remember the National Restaurant Association shows where we put truckloads of sand in McCormick Place, and we had 2 big tractor trailers in there, and we had all that sort of thing going on, and knocked over a couple of booths, which we had to pay for, which was crazy. It got completely out of hand, but we had a hell of a good time. And that's how I got involved with the food service industry.
So how did, besides all of that, so as you went to school and you started out, what brought you into the whole hospitality field? I know you said you did marketing, you did so many other things. So tell our audience a little bit more. How did all of that start? How did you actually wind up doing what you do today?
I started out going to school for design, basically. And after I got into design, I wanted to start my own agency. And in order to do that, I had to take on a lot of different roles. I thought I wanted to do just good design. And what I learned is I couldn't do just the good design. I had to make sales calls. I had to write. I had to develop brand development and all that. So I went back to school and got worked on sales and marketing and all that sort of thing. So that's basically how I got involved with it. At the same time, though, my grandmother owned a tavern for many, many years. She was very successful with it. She taught me a lot of tricks of the trade, working behind the bar with her. She was a hell of a really interesting person. Half the time when somebody came in and asked for a drink, she didn't mix it. What she would say is, "What's in it?" And she had this real gruff voice. She was a real little tiny person, about 5 feet tall. She'd say, "What's in it?" And then they would tell her. And then she'd put all the ingredients on the table and she'd say, "Well, I'll mix it up and I'll charge you what I think it's worth." And so that's basically what I learned from her, was just, put it out there. Just figure it out on the fly. That's what she basically did. But she's like a lot of restaurant operators. Today, I don't work that way. Obviously, we work mostly very scientifically here at Hot Operator. We pay close attention to what's going on and manage the process pretty carefully. But back then, no, sure didn't.
I absolutely love that. And as our audience gets to know a little bit about you, you always have this one saying that restaurant isn't about making money. It's not about your food. It's not about your staff. It's about your menu and the mindset behind the menu. So can you talk to us a little bit about where that came from?
Yeah, I can. So that has to do with the stuffed jalapeno popper program that we were working. We had invented this program, or I was working with one of the owners of Anchor Food Products. We walked the National Restaurant Show, and we saw these little stuffed jalapenos, and we decided to launch them ourselves. First, we tried to buy the company, and the guy that owned the company wouldn't sell it. So we decided, well, we'll just do it ourselves. So we started making the product, and one of the problems was it wouldn't sell. We couldn't sell them to save our lives. I had come across some really interesting information from Michigan State University and Cornell University that showed how to engineer a menu. And I thought, this was in 1992, I think it was. So this is back a ways. And so we put together this menu system that you could order online. So if you were a restaurant operator and you bought 2 items from Anchor Food Products, you could get a free appetizer menu. And we highlighted the items, put them in the right location. We did all the things that they said to do in these reviews that we saw. We had 60,000 restaurant operators sign up for this program. And we were selling at their peak 5 billion stuffed jalapenos a year. It was a very successful program. And I got to thinking, wow, that's powerful stuff. What if I actually engineered a whole menu? Like, what if we actually looked at a menu and said, let's build it? And that's basically how it started. We started working with restaurant operators and specifically independent restaurants because I gave a presentation at the National Restaurant Show one year, and I asked the group, so what are you in business for? Like, why are you in business?
Yeah.
And nobody had the right answer. And the right answer is, well, we're in business ultimately to make money. I mean, the restaurant operator has to make money. You have to. And the problem that we face ourselves with in the independent restaurant industry is that a lot of them are going out of business. They're just not doing all that well. And one of the problems that we're faced with there is we've got US Foods, we've got Cisco, we've got Performance, we've got all these guys making menus and doing all this stuff for free. They call free. But they're doing a huge disservice to those people because they don't understand how those menus work, and they don't understand how brand marketing works, and they don't understand any of that. So restaurant operators are getting these menus that they think, oh, this is free. Well, it's not free. It's costing you money.
Yeah.
And this is a pennies business. If you're not looking for those pennies, if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss out. And we looked into the psychology of how people look at a menu, how they pay for things, how they pay attention to things. We also look at, though, how the customer is most often going to give you a good review and like what they purchased and be happy about what they purchased. Like simple things like how many items should be in a category. And there's a specific answer to that, and it's 7. 6 sells less than 7, 7 more than 8. That's it. So 7. If you got an appetizer section, put 7 items in, you'll be happy. If you go more than that, the customer gets confused about what they're ordering. They don't like it as much. They're going to be less likely to recommend the product, and they're going to be less likely to buy it again. It's that simple, right? These are simple things that we do in our process that other places just don't do. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love that. And for us, I believe in data-driven decision making because if you ask me, I'm Austrian. I just put Austrian dishes on it because I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not the way you make money. My first restaurant was a very good example of that. And so for me, you most commonly. You said there's one thing. It's the most dangerous thing. It's a pattern in the restaurants. You call it downward spiral. I wanted to talk a little bit about that because you call it the silent killer from the inside out. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
So what a lot of restaurant operators do, and I've had countless discussions with restaurant operators about this, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I gotta take that." I got to take that sirloin steak off. I can't sell that to save my life. It's just $27, right? And I'm like, you don't really want to do that because mostly it's the most expensive item on the menu, and guests or consumers, guests in the restaurant, we call them guests because that's what we want them to be.
Mhm.
They don't buy the most
Yeah.
expensive thing, primarily because we don't like the A student in school, right? We want to be a B average. So we go 2/3 to the way of that high number, and that's where we hover. So what I tell them to do is put an arbitrarily more expensive item on the menu. So take that expensive item that you have, put something twice the amount, like, sirloin steak for two at twice the price, and that'll start to sell better. That's what works. And the downward spiral is they take that $27 steak off. The next thing is $19.99. Suddenly they can't sell that to save their lives. They take that off the menu, and pretty soon they can't sell anything, right? So
Yeah.
so that's what that downward spiral is.
I love that. And full transparency, my first restaurant bombed because of that. I said, hey, I love Austrian food. I'm Austrian. I got to make just Austrian food. And there was two things I forgot about. Okay, number one, in Austria, we were a cash country. I didn't take credit cards. Big mistake, okay? If you're a restaurant, you need to take credit cards. The second thing for me was people came to said, you need to serve a New York strip. No, we don't. Why would I need to serve a New York strip? Because in Austria, we don't, our beef is not that good. So we boil it, Why would I serve? And somebody said to me, you need to have a $50, and this is in 1992, $50 item on it. Oh, you don't understand food service. And we did lamb chops for $4 as a joke. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
We did $125. And there was a few people which ordered it because there was 4 of them, but majority of the time it sold everything else. And we figured that out by default. It was not because we was a great or we met you. So for me, that was one of the things. And so for me, there's a few things which I absolutely love about you. It's that. Because I totally align with data-driven decision making. But not only that, I want you to talk a little bit more because you created one of the most delicious things, jalapeno poppers.
Yeah.
And as you did this, you learned how to pair them with what the early operators, in the industry didn't know about. So talk to us a little bit. How did pairing the jalapeno popper and, with that new platform you had, and where you talked about profitability before anybody else even talked about. So talk to us a little bit. Where did that mindset come from, and what did it do for you guys as an organization?
So what we were doing in marketing for Anchor Food Products was we were deciding that we needed to market everything that we did as an incremental sale. So in a restaurant industry, there's certain things that have to do the heavy lifting, sandwiches, pizza, entrees, those kinds of things. They have to pay the bills. They got to pay the light bill. They got to pay for the employees. They got to pay for everything. An incremental sale is the bookends, so appetizers, desserts, and any add-on that you can have. So any way that you can take a product like a popper or a cheese stick or an onion ring or any of those items and add them onto a sale, you're going to do better as a restaurant operator because you're going to get those averages up. And we were trying to explain to the restaurant operators the food cost percentages can be pretty high for those items. We don't care if they're in the 40s or maybe even 50. It doesn't matter because every ounce of that money, every dollar you get goes right to the bank. And the thing is, you can't take percentages to the bank. You can only take dollars to the bank, right? I mean, you can't go to the bank and say, here, I've got 32% to put in the bank account, right? They're going to look at you and go, what? And so a lot of the work that we did was pairing it with like popper jam. We put that together, which was like a pepper jelly that sold for very, very well. We put all kinds of different things inside the stuffed jalapenos, everything from barbecue to pulled chicken, all kinds of stuff in the pepper. We were doing, I think we had almost 300 items when they sold the business. Sadly, though, McCain and I think Heinz bought the retail side of the business and McCain bought the food service side. I don't think they understood the Poppers brand and its strength. They didn't maintain it. They shut the website down that had, think about that. They had 60,000 restaurant operators using that system and they unplugged it. I mean, to me, that's crazy. We would have Nation's Restaurant News coming to us trying to sell ad space, and we're like, "How about we sell you some ad space? We've got as many followers as you have, and they're spending more time with us than they are with you."
Yeah, you probably had
Yeah,
more
we
than we
did,
did.
and they were spending a
Yeah.
good 45 minutes to an hour with
I,
us every week.
I, there's a danger in being ahead of the curve, and you was definitely ahead of the curve. But for me, I want you to talk about, because as our audience gets to know you a little bit, you tell the story all the time from Mr. Chamberlain's 100-point game, where he stopped doing what he wanted to because he felt
Yeah,
awkward. Okay. So can you tell our audience a little
sure.
bit about that? I love that 100
Yeah,
point
right.
game
It's
story.
it's it's the granny shot. Yeah, he had that 100-point game. The one time in his life that he did a granny shot, one of the things everybody knew about him was that he could not shoot from the line. This is something I actually heard. I forget who was Malcolm McDowell, or I don't know. I forget who it was who says, I didn't come up with
Mhm.
it. I just heard it somewhere. But that's the thing about restaurant operators is they get plugged in. They get very myopic with things, and they don't like to change their mind about anything. And what I try to do is say, look, if we change the way we approach the business and we actually pay attention to things that happen that we can actually measure, it's way better off. Another story I heard, and you'll get a kick out of this one, is I was watching this woman on stage, and she was talking about bananas, and she was working for United Fruit. She was down in that particular area, and she kept opening bananas, but she would open them from the hook side, and they all laughed at her. They're like, "What are you doing?" And they were like, "No, tip it over the other way and grab the little knob, the little black knob, and pull on it." And she was like, "Isn't that amazing?" Now your audience is going to go, "Where's the banana? I got to try this." But it works so much better if you do it that way, right? And so, like from my perspective, I just want you to be successful. That's really what I'm looking to have happen. The other
Mhm.
thing I'm looking for is, like, if you go down what we call it the frontage road here in Oshkosh, and you drive down that frontage road, there aren't any local restaurants there. They're gone. Every damn one of
Mhm.
them is gone.
Yeah.
And we got to have a moment of silence for those people because they put their heart and soul in that business and they just didn't know what they were doing. And from my own thought is, I hate to go, in Oshkosh, then go to Nina or go to, West Undershirt, Michigan or someplace else, and every
Yeah.
place looks the same, right?
Mhm.
Let's have some energy. Let's have some excitement. Let's do something fun. So anyway,
I,
I hope that helps you answer your
so
question.
listen, I absolutely love that, because and I see it. It's currently happening in my town. My town was very strict about letting brands in because they
Yeah.
wanted to have mom and pop restaurants be successful. Starbucks came in. Now we have a Jersey Mike's. Now we have a Chipotle, and you
Right.
could see the small restaurants, the family owned restaurants going away because they can compete with that. So for me,
Right.
I love when you talk about that. Let me shift gears a little bit, because you built two, you called it full on mobile strategy trucks, where you pulled up to operations and you delivered on site consulting. By the way, I love that. That's not normal. That's disruptive. That's why we love it.
Yeah.
So can you talk to us a little bit? Where did they come from, and what did you learn from that idea?
Okay, so I worked with a guy from Anchor Food Products who's one of the owners of this business, and he was sort of a marketing savant. I was
Yeah.
you'll get a kick out of this. I was in an elevator with a group of people from a food service conference, and they were all talking about how the people from Anchor must have Stanford, education and marketing PhDs or something because they're so brilliant. And I thought, no, it's just a couple of hillbillies from Wisconsin, man. We're just figuring it out as we go, right?
Mhm.
Um, but he came to me and he was like, I want to build a couple of trucks. I want to go across the country with these trucks, and I want to have like a conference room.
Mhm.
And I had been in the fire truck business, so I knew a lot of people who built trucks. Like I knew
Yeah.
that business really well. So we found a builder. We designed the trucks. There were fryers in there. There were televisions. There were conference seats. Uh, they hired and trained a couple of people to manage these trucks. They got them CDLs so they could drive the trucks and park the trucks. They could do what they needed to do, but they were salespeople, and we went
Yeah.
and we taught distributor sales reps how to drag a bag. How to go out and sell. When I say drag a bag, it means literally drag a frozen food bag with poppers in it and fry them up at the restaurant level. That's how you sell that stuff, right? You got to go and talk to people.
So talk to our audience a little bit behind it. Is there any backstory or anything from behind the scenes? You know, a moment that stuck with you working with Procus.
I think, what I think about that now is this. There are levels or tiers to the quality of the person who works in those industries. You have the manufacturing sales guy who is actually pretty sharp. Those guys are pretty good at what they do, and they actually understand the industry pretty well. Then you've got the distributor sales guy, and they're pretty good too. Then you've got the brokers, and those guys, not so much. They kind of what they do is they kind of look at the person who's paying the most of money. And let's say if you've got Tyson as an account, that's the only business you're really going to look at, and you're not going to really do much else. And so there are levels or tiers to that. What I also learned is getting those three groups to all talk to each other. Like if you're going to design a way to distribute food in a country, this is not how you would do it because it's just so screwed up. But what I will say is that getting people to pay attention to you and cutting through all the garbage and all that stuff, it takes real skill, and it takes something that really stands out. Now, one of the things that I think is happening in our industry today is I do menu engineering. So what happens is we start with what's called a scatter graph. You send me your PMix from your restaurant for about a 3-month period, and I break all that product down into 4 categories: stars, puzzles, workhorses, and dogs. What I find really interesting is there's nothing new on the menu, like really nothing at all. And with Anchor, we always had something new. Like we had something new that we were putting into the industry that was interesting and different, and would secure some space on the menu that nobody had ever seen before. I had worked with a woman called Margaret Walsh. She was with the Color Association years ago, and wonderful woman from New York. And she said something to me. I was actually driving to the airport. She was saying to me, one of the things you got to remember, Mark, is this: people buy things they already know they want, but they want them in a new style. And she also said they buy, like women will buy a small black dress, or they'll buy a white blouse, or men will buy a blue or a white shirt, but they won't buy it from a place that doesn't have the most contemporary styles and colors. You may not sell those that often, but you have to have them. And when I talk to restaurant operators about that very thing, saying, you've got to be creative on your menu. It's not necessarily something you're going to sell. Well, what if I have to keep this stuff and it goes bad? Well, discount it, or make sure that it's not an orphan, right? You know what an orphan is, right? Make sure that it has someplace else to live on the menu, so you're going through it a little bit. But put it together in a construct that makes somebody look at it and go, that sounds interesting to me. That way you stay fresh, you stay interesting. And, the other thing is change can't do that very quickly. They have to think in really long terms, 6, 8, 9 months. Whereas a small operator, they can make a decision on Tuesday and they're serving on Saturday, right? It's quick.
I love that. And it's so true, because I have friends of mine which working for big companies, and they have exactly the challenge you just talked about. They talking about something. Hey, I'm working on 2026 spring menu. You're working on what? I mean, how about getting food out on Friday? But unfortunately, I think that's just the way the industry is.
I think it is too.
Yeah, I also want to talk to you a little bit about you call yourself, or you being called, the benign dictator. So can you talk to our audience a little bit about that?
All right. Yeah. So in any business, nothing happens until a sale takes place, right? Isn't that true?
Yeah.
So you got no business if you got no business. I mean, that's pretty much it. So the benign dictator in my business is a person who can make a sales call and can actually get someone to buy something from us. And so that's me. That's why I'm the benign dictator, right? Now, if you ask my partner that, they'd be like, don't listen to that. That's a bunch of bull. The guy does whatever he wants to, and we try to figure out how to make it work, more likely, but that's kind of how it works.
I love that. And I love it so much that I want to say we all need somebody like that, because we need somebody who tells us the way it is. And that's what I love about you. You're pretty straightforward. And also, people, I think, hearing that differently, because if they being told, not, I want to say what they want to hear, but what the industry wants them to know, they're gonna stay the same. If you wanna have something differently, you need to think differently. And in order to think differently, you need somebody who talks to you differently, because when you start talking differently, you will think differently. If you think differently, you will start acting differently. If you act differently, we have different outcomes, and it's as simple as that. And that's what we absolutely love about you.
Oh, thanks. I love that too.
So
No, I do. I like to make things different. I like to
yeah,
change things up a little bit. Hmm.
and for me, by the way, in as I grew up in a career, Anchors was the best. And
Yeah, they did a good
the
job.
way I think they were amazing. And they did a good job selling the business, but they didn't do a good job maintaining it afterwards, because of what you just
Now
talked
that
about.
they didn't have any choice. They didn't have any. They had nothing to
Yep.
do with that. After it was sold, and they didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, and
Yeah, that was too bad.
yeah, and it worries me even now. There's some really amazing companies out there, and I just don't want that to get lost, because I think we need that style of innovation. We need that disruptiveness, and
I think
for
so.
me, yeah, I think you did an amazing job within that. So, but before we go, I have a few questions for you, and I wanted to see if you are up for playing what we call rapid fire question food service edition.
Sure.
I asked my team to make extremely hard questions for you, so I'm
Oh
curious
boy,
hearing your answer about that. But
I'll do
before
the best I can.
there's no right or wrong answer. Actually, there is. We
Okay.
just want it. Now, but before we get going, let our audience look a little bit behind the curtain. What is Mike working on Mike to the end of the year? And what is Mike working on his business till the end of the year?
You're talking about Mark. Mark working on
Oh,
Mark.
sorry, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, not Mike. Yeah. Okay. I
Yeah.
get that
So,
sometimes.
what
Yeah.
are you working on you for the next 6 months?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
what are you working on your business?
Sure. Okay, so working on the business, I have been told by many people I should have a podcast. You among them.
I think you should.
I thought
Be a
about
good
it. I
example.
thought about it. Um, I write a blog. I take care of that. We have a lot of clients, a lot of ongoing clients. We do a lot of social media development, that kind of thing. So
Mhm.
I've got plenty on my deck to take care of within the business, that kind of thing. When I work on myself, it's a spiritual process. I study A Course in Miracles a great deal, and so meditate and pay
Yeah.
attention to those things, because when it comes right down to it, there's so much more than we can see here, and that this is all kind of gets in the way sometimes of us actually paying attention, which is truly important.
Yeah.
That is
No.
who we are in our core. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And I love the Course America. Unfortunately, it's done by a German guy. I'm Austrian, so it's a little friendly competition, but he
Yeah.
is amazingly good at it.
Well, Helen Schuckman is the person who actually
Correct.
did that.
Yeah.
And she was from the United States, so you're okay. You're fine.
Yeah. There's a little bit of ancestry there.
Yeah,
But
I get it.
listen, it's for me, I always said that if maybe it is as we get older. But for me, there's two things I absolutely love. Number one is you need to believe in something bigger than you. And I don't care what it is, to be very active
absolutely.
at church.
Right.
And actually, my office manages 176 churches. So we very much involved with church. The
Sure.
second thing, you need to find a way to give back. And the way you give back is by learning more about you, because you can't give away what you don't have. So for
That's
me,
true.
The Course of Miracle is amazing. By the way, it's also a great song. It's just an amazing overall concept. And
Mhm.
for me, I learned about meditation a long time ago. I didn't do it until just a few years ago. And for me, it's something I do before I go to bed, and it's something I do first thing in the morning. And
Sure.
it's amazing on, I think, how it helps you ground yourself on that. And for me, I think I became a better human being doing this. And
I think so.
I don't want to admit that. So I'm telling people you need to meditate more.
And also,
Go ahead.
sure, it also keeps the stress level down.
Yes. Yes.
Right. It puts things in perspective, and you can ask, why am I feeling this way about something? So
Yeah.
if something happens and I'm thinking to myself, I'm feeling kind of nervous about this or whatever, then I can sit back and say, how do I see this differently? Because I must have brought this into my life in some way and
Yeah.
made it what it is. But the other thing is, as you mentioned before, writing a book, and I have written a book, and it's called The Wisdom of Epinoia.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's a book basically about the worst things human beings can do to each other and how to find forgiveness for them. In other words, what I tried to do in the book is write parables. So there's a whole bunch of parables in the book, and it's basically, hang on a second.
Yeah.
I had a tractor going by my window, and it's such a nice day today. I had it open. And it's a book of parables. And the parables are all taking something that's absolutely abhorrent that human being can do to another human being. And how do I find forgiveness for that? And how do I look at that differently? And I would like to say it's been very successful, but so far it's a pretty hard read. I've heard a lot of people write me and say, "Oh my God, it was so hard to get through, but it was really worthwhile getting through it."
Yeah.
So, but it's not on this industry, and I had thought about writing an industry book about how to market a restaurant from the ground up.
So with us, we own a publishing company. So there's a few things I have learned around writing a book. If it's too technical, people will get to the first 10, 15 pages and then they stop because they think it's too technical. It's not, okay?
Too hard.
It's just
Can't do it.
It takes work. Correct. It just takes work. So what we have learned in our process is we give them a sliver of what the book is actually wants to teach or wants to tell the story on. And we're building a brand behind it where you can have these conversations with somebody. So when you write a book with us, we create what we call a launch team. And the launch team, for all essence, is the team which kind of cheers you on, the team which kind of gives you some honest feedback, the team which gets to read a few of the chapters. But what we're doing afterwards is we're taking that private Facebook group and make it an open Facebook group. Because I honestly think there's three things any writer needs to do. And that's the number one. They need to be accessible to the reader. So if I read your book, I want to know more about you. I want to say, why did you write it? Why, And if I get into your world, and learn more about you, I'm more interested in reading the book. Because you probably heard it said that the regular author sells less than 500 copies of their books a year. And even the top 10% of people buying books read less than 15% of the book. There's very few people which read a book to book, from cover to cover. And so also what changed is, I have back there on my cover, I have a 700-page book. Nobody looks at this anymore. People want to have 100 pages. They want to have 120. If it's 160, it's a lot. Because I want to learn something from you, which gives me instant feedback. And I don't want to know about the backstory. So the way people consume books totally changed. And so for me, what we're teaching in our course, it's really simple. It's not about the book, it's who you're becoming. Because when I have a podcast, if I have an opportunity for the reader to get to know me, it's a lot easier to tell the story about the book than somebody reading the book. So for me, that's for us what makes us successful in our book course. And every single time we do this is, and you went through it, is who you becoming writing a book. The person's book we're launching this weekend, her book is called Asshole Management. She is a psychotherapist. And her thing is, as we started this process 100 days ago, she came to us and she said, no launch team. I don't want any of that. I don't want to be on Facebook. I don't want any of that. Today, she's launching a book. She's doing amazingly on video. I always said it's upsetting because I feel like I need to do better, and she's natural at that. And now when we do a launch team call, which is supposed to be 15, 20 minutes, it's 2 hours. And people asking questions, and she does an amazing job answering it. Well, you know what she said to me? Fuck the book. I do a podcast. No. You got to get the book out. But I'm honestly thinking is who you becoming. If you meant to write a book, it's so much easier to talk about it, because when you write about a subject matter expert, I know it helps you to define who you are and what you want to talk about.
Of course.
Easy to talk about it. So for me,
well, maybe you could publish my book.
Yes, because we tell everybody our internal goal is we want to have 1 million people write a book over the next 10 years, because it's not about the book. The book is just a byproduct. Because if you get clear about talking what you want to talk about, and people come in your world, more people watching videos today and listen to podcasts than reading a book. So, but if I can help you lead a better life, if I can help you to fix that little thing because I had to overcome it, or if I can teach you 1 or 2 things which has a total different outcome for you,
Sure.
you have a responsibility to do that. So
I like it.
I will read your book, because for me, when I read books, I don't read it just to learn. I want to know who the guy is who wrote the book. Why did he think about that? Why, I always said my big thing I tell myself is, we are on this planet which floats at 18,000 miles an hour around space or something.
Yeah.
That's for me my great equalizer, because it was like, why do we worry about that? But for me, I honestly think,
it's like we're on this little blue marble zooming around, and we're all here.
Yeah.
It's like a little spaceship. We got to take care of each other.
Yes,
I agree.
And so I love that. So, but before we play rapid fire question food service edition, how can our audience learn more about you?
Go to the website, hotoperator.com. You can look the website over, look at my blog, sign up to follow my blog. I do writings every week, sometimes a couple times a week. Get on the emailing list. You can do that through my website at Hot Operator, or give me a call, 800-316-3198. That's 1-800-316-3198. Yep. Give me a call and I'll get you back. And it's actually me that you would talk to.
I love that. And then to our audience, we will have more information around how to get a hold of Mark in our show notes. And also we will share the 5 things we learned with him today. So, but before we pivot to the rapid fire question food service edition, I want to have a little call to action to our audience. What connected you to listen to this whole episode with Mark today? And then also, can you write for you, what was a key takeaway you have learned? And then we will share this with Mark afterwards. Perfect. So with that, are you ready to play rapid fire question?
I shall do my best. Okay.
As no right or wrong answer. If you mess up, we just won't air the episode. So it's simple as that. So no pressure.
You edited it out. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So the way this works, Mark, is I have 25 questions here, which is especially just for you.
Okay.
And then I ask you for a number, you give me the number, and then I read out the question, and then you answer as quickly as you can. So with that, Mark, rapid fire question, food service edition. Not only is this food service edition, it's Hot Operator X edition. So just for you. So give me a number between 1 and 25.
12.
12. If a chef says, my food speaks for itself, what is he actually saying?
He's saying he doesn't know the first thing about writing a menu. He's saying what an idiot he is. The fact is this: you're talking to women. You write a menu to a woman, and it has to have a little tiny bit of prose in it. You got to describe the food, baby. If you're not describing the food, I mean, watch a commercial sometime and see a BMW roll by and say, we don't need to tell nothing about our BMW. Nothing about it. Doesn't matter. It's a bunch of horse crap. Get your head out of your ass is what I would tell them to do. But I hear that from chefs all the time, and it's just so frustrating. I'm like, God, you think you know everything. All right.
Okay, give me a number.
All right, 24. Let's do 24.
24.
Twice the number. Yeah.
If you would relaunch a classic dish to give it a modern twist, what would it be and why?
A modern dish. It would have to be something that is completely. It would probably be something with pork in it, like a pork T-bone or something like that with a nice sauce that would be designed specifically for pork. There are 2 reasons I would do it. Number 1 is because it'd be different. Number 2 is because you could sell it fairly inexpensively and still make a crap ton of money on it. I would look at something in pork.
Awesome. Give me a number between 1 and 25.
25.
25. What's the one question operators never ask of you, but should?
They never ask me, and they should. That's a really good question, because they typically don't ask a lot of questions. So I would say they don't ask enough questions overall.
Mhm.
What they should be asking is, how is this really going to work on my tables? The other thing they don't ask me a lot about is, how does this, like I always tell them to do server training when they do the menu. When they put the menu on the table, make sure you train the menu, you train your servers to be salespeople. They never ask what that means. What does it mean that my servers are no longer order takers, they're actually salespeople? It's crazy, isn't it? You got all these people marching around,
I,
dropping menus on tables and never even asking, like pointing to an item. I would get this.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm telling people all the time, do not make family meal. Let them order off the menu so they can become your salespeople on the dish.
Right.
Oh, but you don't know it's going to cost me money. No.
And in that, we have a local, fairly upscale restaurant here, and they did a buffet for Mother's Day, and I made the mistake of going. Oh, it was a disaster, like worse than you could imagine. And I even wrote him a note, the chef. I said, next time, do a prefix menu, so you're cooking fresh, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just don't do this stupid Father's Day. They did a buffet. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? You're not a buffet restaurant. But anyway. I get, you get so tired of these people doing stuff like that.
I can talk to you about, I have a really good friend of mine who was so proud that they did 4,000 people at Mother's Day. Okay, it's great. How was the final thing? And he says, feedback was like, meh, but we did 4,000. I am just telling you. Yeah.
And what did you do next Tuesday? Yeah, what did you do next Tuesday after all those 3 stars and 2 stars hit your reviews?
Take some of that money and remarket it because you will need it. Okay.
Right. Number 1.
Give me a number between 1 and 25.
What number 1?
Number 1. What is the most overpriced item on restaurant menus right now?
Appetizers. Way overpriced. Every time I see them, I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself? Nobody wants to pay $12 for a bunch of cheese sticks or a pretzel. I had a client the other day that I did a matrix on their menu, and he's got a pretzel for $16. I'm like, you're out of your friggin' mind? It's insane. Oh, but the food cost. I'm like, I don't care about the food cost. I care about selling a ton of these things.
Correct. Or they get off the menu. It's just, I'm with you.
Yeah, skip it. Well, the same guy's got two pretzels on his menu. Like, why do you have 2 different pretzels?
You know what? He probably sells 5 a week. It's just, they get off the menu. Okay, give me number between
5.
1. 5. What's the most common pricing mistake operators make today?
Whole dollar pricing. That's the biggest problem that they have. They have $15. Well, $15 is a stupid number because the moment you hit 15, you may as well go to $15.99 because nobody cares. That's the biggest mistake they make. There are basically 4 price points under $5. That's $29, $49, $79, $99. Above $5, it's $49 and $99. That's it. So,
okay.
Lucky number 7. Let's do this. This is fun.
Okay, number 7. Okay. Ooh, pineapple on the pizza. Yes or no?
I don't like it, but I would have it as an option. I am a pizza guy, and there are some really good pizzas out there. Sadly, not in Oshkosh, but there are some really good pizzas out there. I say that, and that's not really true. There are some good pizza makers here, but
there's a whole movement. Bring the pineapple back, and so you just pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah, that's not going to work for me.
Give me last number between 1 and 25.
11.
What items do menus over-explain and they don't need to?
That's a good question because most of the restaurant operators, especially when I work with a chef, they don't explain anything. So I would say they're under-explaining just about everything they do. What I tell restaurant operators is this: get a professional copywriter who can write a menu to women. Men don't read menus. They scan them looking for the thing they already know they want.
Correct.
Women actually read menus. And the reason they do is because this is a group effort for them.
Yeah.
And a lot of women will do this. My wife does this all the time. I'll have this and you have that, and then we'll share a little. And I think, okay, do I want to get lucky tonight, or am I, because otherwise I'll say, why don't you get both, eat what you want and take the rest home, because I don't want to eat that.
Yeah.
But we know better as men, so we don't do that. We basically go along with it, right? So, but you got to describe things on the menu. I tell restaurant operators this all the time. Write them, not just a description of like, these are the ingredients either, but why did you do it this way? Why is this going to make a flavor profile that you're going to love? And make me fall in love really quick.
Yeah.
I got two pieces of pie. One pie is apple pie. The other pie is Grandma Lee's before the war pie. And that has a recipe that was with General Lee. He took it everywhere he went. And when he died, he had that recipe next to his deathbed. It was amazing, right? Now, which one do you want to try?
Oh, I want to try his.
Yeah, of course you do. And you'll pay more for it and you'll like it better. And in fact, if I told you they were both the same pies, you wouldn't believe me. You'd be like, no, this is a better pie, right? Yeah. I mean, what do you get when you go to the movie? You get really expensive popcorn. Why is that? Because there's a story being told.
Yes. And,
right?
I totally agreed. Okay.
Yeah.
But before we wrap it up, last question. If you would have a minute with every independent operator in the country, what would you say? And what would be one mindset shift that could save their business and set them up forever?
Do a matrix. Start there. You have a focus group going on in your restaurant every day. People are voting with their pocketbook and their feet. They're telling you whether they like your restaurant with their feet, and they're telling you what they want to order off your menu with their pocketbook. You need to know that, and you need to know it definitively. You can't guess at this. You can't say, well, I see these things going out, so I know. No, you don't. You're going to be surprised. The second thing I will tell you is design engineer the menu and have a professional do it. Do not allow some hack from a distributor to do it. You don't know what you're going to get. And thirdly, pay close attention to marketing. Get on social media, talk about your products, post every day, get a calendar together, have someone help you if you need that, get good photography, but make sure that people know that you're there. Do events, have fun in the restaurant. And remember, always remember, going to a restaurant is a mini vacation for people. They're not going to Hawaii or someplace. They're going to your restaurant and they want to be taken care of. And this is a mini vacation for them. Don't F it up. Don't screw up their good time. Make sure they have a good time, right?
Yeah.
That's what I would tell them.
I love that. For me, I love that because so aligns with what I always tell. I tell people, be an architect of memories. You want people to have good experiences, and when they think back what they just spent with you, and it's as simple as that. So with that, I want to say thanks for being here today, Mark. I think you have done what. Yeah, I honestly think you have done what very few can. You connect that creativity with clarity, data with stories, and strategy with soul. So I absolutely loved having you here. You certainly raised the bar. So with that, Mark, I want to say thanks for being here today. Thanks for giving so freely of your time. So, but before we go,
hey, thanks for coming to work today. Really appreciate it. And I push all of your listeners to start telling their servers and their workers that thank you so much for coming to work today. Without you being here, I would not have a business. Go ahead. You were going to say something else.
Absolutely. No, I wanted to know before we go, because there's one question we ask everybody. What was the greatest advice you ever gotten you never acted on?
The greatest advice that I never acted on? Oh boy. The best advice I've ever gotten was probably take good care of yourself. Make sure that you're taking good care of yourself. You'll be a better person with everybody else if you're good inside.
Yeah, I love that, because you can't give away what you don't have, and
that's exactly right. Yeah, and find forgiveness for everything. There's nothing here that, for me, being an ACIM student, there's no sin. It's just a mistake. So own the mistake, move on. So that's what I would say.
I love that. So with that, Mark, I really appreciate you being here to answer our audience. Make sure you go out there, disrupt, fire up your career, stay hungry for change. I'm Christian. I'm here with Mark, and we are out of here. So we are signing off. So with that, everybody, go out there and stay disruptive, everybody. Thanks for being here today, Mark.
Yeah, thanks too. Take care.